Okay, welcome, Jennifer, to my safe space, Global Voices. It is such an honor to have you here. I'm so excited. Please just let us know your name, where you are from, and the work that you do with domestic violence.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Jennifer Dean, and I'm an author. Recently, my book, Shadow of Joy, was just published,
If you
and,
can see this, it is beautiful.
and I work as an advocate and I come alongside women in domestic abuse. And I'm an advocate and I am a survivor as well. And my story, my experience spanned 25 years. And so my heart and my mission and my passion really is to help women have a voice, to really bring awareness to control, to abuse, to be able to see what they're living in and or avoid it and have the courage to step out of it and to find their freedom and also to really find their joy again. I love metaphors, so shadow of joy,
So
that is
beautiful.
speaking to when people love themselves, they love their life, they're vibrant, they have this joy. And when you come under oppression and you come under abuse, it gets shadowed and you become just a shadow of your joy. And then when you are no longer under abuse or under oppression, what's the first thing that usually comes back? It's your joy. So it's quite amazing how what is inside of you blossoms again when you have that ability to be free. So I am excited to chat today, and I'm so honored to be on your show.
Thank you. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay, so will you tell us a little bit more about your book and what if somebody were interested and was thinking about getting it, what are they getting themselves into with this book?
Okay, well, first, I forgot to answer. I'm in Maryland.
Oh,
Right
yes.
now, it is, it's August, but it's like this rainy, ooey day with cloudy skies. So I like lit a ton of candles to bring in the ambiance. So it's warm and cozy. But my book, Shadow of Joy, I wrote it fiction on purpose. I have several children, and I wanted to write this novel so that any woman, wherever she is on earth, could find herself in the pages. So it is my story, but it's fictionalized because I really wanted it to be for every single woman. So it touches on all forms of abuse. It touches on emotional, mental, psychological, physical, sexual, financial. And sometimes women may only experience two or three of them. Not everyone experiences all of them. So I wanted to make sure it was very relevant so that any woman who lives under oppression, under coercive control, under abuse, neglect, can be reading this and being like, oh my God, like, how did she get inside my life? How did she get inside my story? How does she know how I feel? And I wanted people who have no idea what abuse feels like, no idea what oppression feels like. I want them to feel every single speck
I
of
love
what it's
that.
like to live underneath that heavy weight of oppression, where your voice is stripped away, where you are constantly second guessing yourself. Am I allowed to say this? Am I allowed to do this? Can I make this decision for myself? I want people who live healthy, vibrant lives to know what it feels like so they can truly empathize and have more compassion. Because so many people will say, well, hey, if she's not being treated right, why doesn't she just leave? And it's
Yes.
not that easy. So the story is complex because I am targeting so many different important things. First of all, prevention is the best thing. So for young adults, that is very important to know what the red flags are, to know what the green flags are, to know how to step out before you get in way too deep. And then also for women that are in it who have no idea what they're in. They just have a ton of confusion, a ton of doubt, a ton of maybe a poor self-image now because they think that something's wrong with them. Why is this happening to them? Do I deserve this? They've been downtrodden. Their emotions have been beaten down to where they don't even know. And then women that know, okay, this is really bad, but I don't know how to get out. Like, do I even have the right to get out? Can I get out? Can I start over? Am I destroying my family? No, you're not. So I want to hit every single aspect, and then I want people that are professionals or people that have healthy, vibrant lives to be able to step into what it feels like to live under oppression, to live where you don't have a voice and you don't have a choice. And this is what, 2026? And to feel like you don't have rights, that's a lot of women. I was
Yeah.
there. I know what that feels like. And my book also integrates a lot of teaching because I love education and I think it is invaluable. And I have also had conversations with specialists who are like, you know what? Charts and facts and statistics don't cut it. People don't understand. It doesn't resonate with them. You put it in a story, you feel it, and it resonates much more than statistics.
Mm.
So I have a lot of education in here. Every other chapter, you have the story, you have what she's living in, how she's feeling, the utter anguish. But it's slow because it's coercive control. And at first, you have a knight in shining armor who sweeps you off your feet, and you think, oh my God, like he's so amazing. He loves me, and then I intentionally put red flags in that she dismisses or ignores. Oh, well, maybe he didn't mean that, or maybe I need to try harder, and then slowly it becomes where she's having to try so hard to maintain the relationship. And then she ends up carrying the entire weight of the relationship on her shoulders. And then it enters into all different forms of the abuse. And the every other chapter, then you have the teachable moments. And my mom used to say that, it's the teachable moments. Like this is when, oh, I wish I had listened, or I wish I had realized this, or this is what I had to heal from. And these are the moments where you can tell in story form so much truth. So at the end of the book, I have an entire chapter dedicated to what does abuse look like and what is coercive control and what are all the different forms of it? Like, what is triangulation? What is gaslighting? What are all these terms? People could be like, okay, I've heard the term, but what is it? What does it feel like? What does it look like? So by the end of the book, you get very educated and you have a whole lot of understanding as to what it looks like on paper and how it feels like in person, so that whether you are a professional, you're a therapist, or whether you're an advocate, or whether you are a friend or a mom or a daughter, you can really be cued in to these red flags. You could have a friend that says a comment like, oh, I would love to get coffee. I need to ask my husband. I don't know if I'm allowed, or something like that. Or I really want to go, but I don't know if I can. And not because it's a scheduling issue, but because she has to ask permission. And you start getting cued into these things. You have statements from maybe people that are in your circle. And most people have at least two or three people in their circle that there's a raised awareness of like, I wonder if the relationship's healthy. I wonder if they're okay. And then it gives the reader that space to get curious, to ask open-ended questions, to be like, so how's everything going? Like, do you feel safe? Like, do you guys have enough money for groceries? Well, like, I'm not really allowed to spend so much. Okay, now we're like, then you're cued in, and then you can start like walking alongside as a friend and maybe helping with resources, because there's a lot of women that hide and keep their mouth shut because maybe it's embarrassing, or maybe they don't know who to talk to, or maybe they think they're going to get in trouble. There's so many. I describe it like it's like a tangled web, and it's
Yeah.
like a spider's web, and they're all entangled, and you can't separate it without like seven other strings coming with it. And so women need to know that they're seen. Women need to know that they're heard. Women need to be validated. And others need to walk alongside with support, holding their arms up, giving compassion, helping with resources, like aligning them, hey, I know this great group that can help with this or this, and helping them have the courage to step out into freedom because every woman's journey toward freedom is going to look different. Some are going to
Yes.
be baby stepping it. Some choose to try to stay well. Some choose are like, I'm out of here, but you you have to be safe. You have to have a safe exit strategy. You need to have friends who can keep your confidences. You need a place that you can vent and feel safe to know that you're not crazy. You didn't imagine this. So this story and all of the feedback I've been getting
Yes.
has
Share some of
blown me
that.
away. Like, I want raw feedback. And people have been like, I feel like she got inside my life. Like, I have a lot more compassion for my own story. And
Mm.
even men have been giving feedback, like every man needs to read this so they learn what not to do and how to have empathy and compassion. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your sister. Maybe it's, your friend. So, like, to me, like, I wrote this because this was my past. But
Mm.
now it's like we were talking about before, it's like Harriet Tubman. When we get free, we don't just like wipe our hands and say, okay, I'm good. No, we are going to bring as many women as we can so that they can have their freedom journey, so they can feel free again. They can have their voice again. We're not going to stop until we die. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep speaking the truth because that's what matters. This mission matters.
Yes. And this book, am I remembering correctly that you are like getting this book out there in a big way, right?
It's
I'm
on
not,
Amazon right now and
yeah.
it's for order at Barnes and Nobles. I also attend a lot of book events. So, like, I love being able to hand a book to a person, in person. But I want this book to get everywhere. I want everyone to read it and say, my life was changed. My heart was touched. Oh my God, I understand. I had this one woman, I was at a book event. She came up to me and she was crying. And she was like, this is me. This is me. Oh my God. I'm living in it now and I want to get out. And to be able to have a book that has a ton of resources in it, to be an advocate, I have on my website, beyondtheshadow.me, I have so many resources that are free resources because many women are under a financial restraint and they can't just pay a therapist and they can't just do all these things out of pocket, but to have free resources, tangible help that can help you find your voice, find freedom, feel a little bit more brave and a little bit more secure. Like, that is so important.
I love that you are so tuned in and tapped into being such like a loving, guiding support for somebody that is in the midst of it. And creating a resource not just for them, but one that can be tangible for really anybody that may be around them as a potential support to them if they could just understand what it was that they were going through. Um, I personally cannot wait to read your book. I intend on having it at any training that I do as like a resource to recommend for like ongoing understanding and education.
I
So,
appreciate that
oh my
so much.
God, thank you for writing the book. Um, it just
It
sounds
was a 3-year
incredible.
journey to write it. It was. And oh my gosh, I would be
Is this your
like,
first book that you ever
it
wrote?
is. It
Yeah,
is. And
okay.
I would be like hunched over writing till like 3 a.m. But I'm like, the thoughts start brewing and I can't stop. And I have 5 daughters. So, like, life is busy in the daytime and you're trying to accomplish all of these goals. And then, the after school hours are crazy. So, post 9 o'clock, I'm like, the creative juices start flowing. And I'm like, I can't stop. I got to keep going. But it's like you feel inspired
Yeah.
because you are writing a story of every woman who has ever lived under coercive control, who has ever felt controlled and oppressed. And we were talking about this, like, what is it like? What effects does it have on a woman who lives under oppression, who lives under abuse and coercive control? When you do brain scanning with all of the technology we have now, which is utterly amazing, the
Yeah.
effects on the brain from a woman who's lived under coercive control is the same as a kidnapping victim and a prisoner of war. Imagine that. That is the brain trauma that happens. And you have to heal from that. It's not like 5 minutes and you're done. And I'm like, okay, I'm done and I'm fine. No, it is a lifelong journey. And in the best circumstances, 5 years, you will be like so much more healed. But there are so many triggers, there are so many things. It could be a loud noise, it could be anything that could just bring you right back. Like your
Yeah.
emotions don't have time. It's like we talked about when you have a childhood memory and you smell something, you're like, oh my God, it smells like my grandfather. Oh, or it smells like
Yeah.
the farm or whatever, and your brain and your emotions immediately go back as if there was no time. And that's the same in the healing journey. Sometimes things will trigger and you will feel, your body will feel like you're in danger, but you're not. And we have to take on our responsibility to heal and tell ourselves, okay, I am safe. I'm not in danger anymore, and allow our body to heal because it is a process.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong process.
Okay, it's kind of like a running joke. I feel like people that work with me would know that I have the worst startle response. Like it's in crazy. Like I just don't even understand how or why. It is not even that deep. Nobody was trying to scare me. You know what I mean? But I'll just have the worst startle response. And I was gonna ask you, like, as you were sharing that, that was something that came up for me. Like, do you think that's like after effect, kind
I'm
of an
sure.
echo?
I mean, I'm sure because I know many women, probably almost every woman who has lived through trauma is hypervigilant. We read the room, we like hyper read the vibe, we read facial expressions, we read body language because we have had to you know, keep everything safe. So we are reading before something happens. So having like a hyper startle reflex could be like a reaction, could be, an effect of that because you've had to maintain a level of safety, and there's so many things that post abuse we're like, oh, but we have more of an understanding for ourselves. And I was actually just studying, and I don't remember the name because, mom brain, but it's like we actually are like, have learned an invaluable skill.
Mm,
We can read the room, we can ascertain like nuances, facial expressions, like you can see pre someone getting upset. But that's also like an invaluable resource that we have learned under pressure that can be used in a positive way,
yeah,
so we can take what's happened to us and use it in a positive way,
I love
you know,
that spin.
which is, yeah, like let's spin it for good.
Yes. Okay. Another thing that came up for me, this is kind of like random going back to things you said earlier. Just as you were talking about your book, it was occurring to me if there is somebody listening right now that this is not their lived experience or they're not quite sure about any of this and they're trying to learn, can you break down in your own way what coercive control even is, why that is an important term to understand,
Yeah.
and just kind of like 101, what is domestic
Okay.
violence?
I would love to do that. Okay, so I'm going to read just a little tidbit here because I think, language explaining brings things into light so much more. So one way coercive control is defined is it's an invisible cage. It's like a prison without walls. And that's how I describe it in my book. It's a pattern of ongoing, intentional behavior used by one person to dominate, manipulate, isolate, entrap, control, and regulate another person's life. It's not a single incident. And that's why it's important to understand it is not one isolated incident, but it's cumulative, it's repetitive, and it is the strategic nature of these behaviors to create entrapment, dependency, fear, and this is important, loss of autonomy. So it
Mm,
is a stripping away of yourself. You may start out as like you could have tons of different kinds of personalities. You could have maybe the quiet, shy person. You could have the outgoing, fun person. You could have the big, strong, woman who has lots of opinions, every single one of them. It doesn't matter who you are. It is a slow stripping, a slow removal, all the self-doubt. What's wrong with me? Do I deserve this? Am I too much? I was watching this reel, and this guy was like hilarious. And he was, because my whole feed is just filled with like everything about like healing and healing from trauma and rediscovering yourself. And this guy was like, I was dying because he was like, if someone says you are too much, well, then you go where you are not too much, where someone appreciates who you are, because a lot of times in these situations, women are torn down. Who you are, like your fun vibe or your quirkiness or the things you love, they're made fun of, you're mocked until you think that, like, I just, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm just like, something's wrong with me. Like, I need to change myself. And we end up shrinking. We end up, it's like trying to be a square peg in a round hole. Like, you're having to morph and change yourself just to please the other person, but you're doing it and they're unpleasable. There's no like, okay, now you're good. No, there's something they're going to find fault with. And it literally strips you away. And the reason why coercive control is harder for other people to see is that it many times is hidden, or it's done behind closed doors, or they're like subtle jabs, so that it's not like a out in your face, like it's not like a woman getting punched in public.
Right, right.
Like, oh my God, this is the billboard for domestic abuse. Hello, like just paint yourself as a caution sign. There you are. It is usually subtle and it is strategic, and it's a slow stripping so that the victim doesn't even realize it until you're what, 23 years in it, and you
Right.
realize, oh my God, this is domestic abuse. I haven't had a bone broken yet, but maybe I've been shoved. Maybe I've been threatened. Maybe I've been grabbed. Maybe I've been pushed. Maybe hit one or two times. Maybe not. But it's all these things over a period of time, a pattern to destroy, to remove our autonomy, to threaten. And I read this once where it was like, well, several times, but you can have like one or two acts of aggression or just the threat of it, but it's enough to keep you
Mm.
in check because you know the threat of maybe harm to your family or your children or yourself or your pets is enough. And I heard this definition in my training to be an advocate, and they said it is an ask that steps over your boundaries, or it's a demand that steps over your boundaries, plus a viable threat, a threat that you know they absolutely can carry out. What does that equate to? That's the dominance. That's when you have to live under the oppression. Otherwise, you know something bad is going to happen.
Right. Because if it crossed your
Right?
boundaries,
An equation.
that's
Yeah.
you like
Mhm.
sort of bowing down more or less.
Coming under. Yes.
Yeah.
It's entrapment. It makes the person feel that it is impossible, that you cannot get out of it. And it absolutely is insane because it completely undermines your free will. It is a stripping. It literally is in the very beginning, it is an invisible cage. It is a prison without walls. And in public, maybe the person who is abusive is full of charisma. Maybe they're the fun, joking guy. Maybe they're the um, teacher, or maybe they're a coach, or maybe they're someone really big in society, or maybe they have a high standing job and everybody loves them and they are really good at reading people and they know how to present themselves. They're a very good actor, but they have strategically chosen their victim. And many times, and this is why we have to make sure we do not have a bullseye on us. And this is how we have to learn how not to be like a victim.
Mm.
Many times, women who are victims of abuse are very kind and they're very empathic and they don't have firm, strong boundaries.
Mm.
And these are like someone who is not healthy, who is looking for, like, I want a relationship with someone that I can subjugate and control. Oh, who's empathic? Who's super kind? Who gives 7 million chances? Who does not have strong boundaries? Oh, I can probably dominate them. Okay, so what do we need? What's our takeaway? We can be kind and we can be empathic, but we
Yeah.
must have very strong boundaries. And it's better to err on the side of caution than it is to just be the giver, 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 where someone just takes, takes, takes. So, like, my takeaway, what I have learned is I will always have a big heart, but I will have a limit. And you don't give more than what someone is willing to give. And
Yeah.
there are not 75 chances. And I will have very clear, very strong boundaries. That fence will be high, because
Yeah.
you don't want to repeat, you don't want to repeat
It's
that.
terrifying.
It is.
Do you think there is some, I don't know, large-ish percentage of people who come out of situations like this that just decide, I'm never, I'm never gonna date again? Do you
Oh,
think that happens?
absolutely. Absolutely. But there's also like, okay, at the very, very, very end of my book, I spoke to several amazing professionals, and the lady who founded Call to Peace Ministries, her name happened to be Joy, which was ironic. But she was like, she read my book and she was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And she goes, I would ask if I could give one amazing piece, it would be what do women do after this? Because she said statistically, 80% of women end up in a second or third controlling relationship. It's like it's a different person, same dynamic. How do we change that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I wrote at the end, continuing the journey. How do you change that dynamic? How do you change that so that we don't fall prey? We are not another person's victim. Okay, well, we really, really need to study. We need to stick our nose in so many resources, so much education. We need to know what the green flags look like and what the red flags look like. So the next time, say you wait and you feel like, okay, I feel a lot healthier now. I'm not freaking out. I'm not like getting scared. I'm interested now. I want to step back into dating or at least getting to know someone and, seeing how it's going to go. Okay, so it really has to be like an interview. It's like a job interview. You don't get the position that you're not qualified for. So
Mm,
we need to look at this person. We can be nice and we can be kind, but we need to look at them through the lens that they are applying for the job to be in our life. Okay, so I tell my daughters this, and I'm like, okay, if you like someone, you're going to date someone, you need to not be so easygoing. You're not unkind, but say no. How do they react? Do they manipulate you? Do they get a bent nose? Do they pressure you? Do they get mad? Okay, or are they just like, okay, they respect your no. Okay, if they respect your no, that's a green flag.
yeah.
Other things are red flags. Okay, so maybe you change plans last minute. I know you made the reservation for that restaurant, but I'm really not in the mood. I'd rather have tacos. Are they like, oh, okay, all right, that's fine? Or do they get mad? Do they manipulate? Do they get cold? Do they not talk to you for a week? Like all these things that are red flags that may have been more subtle. Do we feel like we have to please them? Or can we stand in our own autonomy and just say, you know what? I'm really in the mood for tacos. We have to learn how to, like, they are applying to be in our life.
Yeah.
And instead of us trying to like grovel for their attention or grovel for their time or grovel to be recognized, no, like we should be the queen. We should have that like energy that's like, I love myself. I know what my value is. I know what my worth is. And if someone wants to be in my life, like I will be like a nice person, a healthy person, but like they have to earn it.
I love
No?
that you have not let yourself like shut down that part of you or that part of your heart is still open. And I love that you've incorporated this concept of green flags into the book and into how you conceptualize all of this because it was making me think as you were sharing about how with that love bombing stage of things, how you
Be
know,
aware.
how easy it can be, right? To like fall into the trap of it. And yet I feel like, and you could push back on this if you think this is not how this would work or play out, but I felt like when you were saying what your green flag examples were and like testing boundaries, say no, like see what the reaction is going to be. I wonder if that actually would be very effective in kind of assessing if you are being loved bombed or like,
Oh yeah.
right?
Well, also, like, okay, think about it. If you needed surgery, would you go, say you needed like hand surgery, would you go to a painter to do it? If you
Right.
needed, like, you would go to the person who has the specialty in it. Okay, so why do we think that we can just like fall into a healthy relationship unless we research it? Like, we need to educate ourselves. Like, I have 5 kids. Okay, how many people become parents without ever opening a book about
Right.
learning how to understand children and how to raise them and how to get inside their brain and also how to teach and train them to be healthy people? Like, so we need to educate ourselves in what does a healthy relationship look like? And also, what does love bombing look like? Too much, too soon, too fast. If they start saying, "You're the only one for me," and like, oh my gosh, on the third date, like they're professing their undying love for you, you'd be like, hmm. And I know it can happen that some can find an amazing person in a short amount of time.
Oh,
I'm not
sure.
denying that.
My
But
parents were like that even.
yeah, but it's better to err on the side of caution because there's so much out there that isn't healthy. So push back a little bit. You know, maybe you don't respond right away. Like you go on a first date and you're like, I feel like we're connecting. I feel like we're vibing. Okay. But there's so much we need to learn. Like people that have narcissistic qualities, they may mirror to you your likes. They may ask you a lot of questions about what do you love? What do you love to do? Oh my God, that's my favorite thing too. Oh, that's my favorite song too. No way. You love horseback riding? I do it
Hmm.
every Tuesday and Thursday. Like, and you're like, we need to learn what these, you know, traditional things are that they're mimicking our favorite things, they're mimicking our behavior. Immerse ourselves in learning so much about it so that just like, okay, a person that works in a bank has to study what actual regular money looks like. So when they see counterfeit, they know within an instant something's wrong. So why
Yeah.
don't we study what healthy relationships look like and what the red flags are and the green flags? So when something feels off, we listen to our gut. Like we were given our emotions for a reason. You listen to that. You don't brush it under the rug and say, well, it's probably not a big deal. Like test it out. Test it. Okay. So like maybe you have a great first date. Maybe you give it a little bit of extra time. Don't be the first one to respond. Like, we have to remember our value and our worth. And we deserve to be in a relationship that we are cherished, that we are loved, that, like, one of my daughters said to me, like, and I love learning. So I'm learning and listening to stuff so much that my kids are like, "Oh my God, Mom, that's all you ever do." I'm like, "But I love it. I love it." And my daughter said to me, who was a teenager, she goes, "I heard that one of the ways a relationship works best is when the man is a little bit more in love with a woman." And I was like,
Interesting. Hmm.
I looked it up and I was like, she was right.
That's interesting.
So,
Okay.
two dynamics that work for a long-term, lifelong relationship is when both people equally are in love with each other immensely, or when the man loves the woman just a little bit more. He is willing to change anything for her. He's willing to bring down the moon for her. He will change things about himself. If she's like, "I really don't like that." Okay, okay, I'm going to work on that. Like he
Yeah.
will like do whatever it takes, and so if that's our mindset that we deserve to be treated like a queen, don't lower our standards. If we're in a relationship and we see that it's going south, well, what are we worth? Why do we stay to be mistreated? Why do we stay to be neglected or stay to be treated like a maid or just, a trophy or whatever? No, we deserve to be cherished and adored. And it's like at the end of Shadow of Joy, there's like a beautiful, amazing, happy ending. But I'm not going to say or give anything away, but you see what she goes through. You see how she's young. It's sort of like, I would say it's like the common story, the beginning, where you have this young woman full of life and vibrancy gets caught up with the hot guy, and she thinks he's Prince Charming and he acts like Prince Charming. And then they date and then they want to get married and they want to start a life. And it's happening so fast, so quick that it's like she can't even keep her feet on the ground. She's just like floating away, like in this helium balloon of romance. And she's ignoring the red flags, and her friend's like, hey, maybe you should like pay attention to that. Oh no, it's fine, and our heads are in the clouds. We're so full of emotion, we're not listening to reason. And then you're in real life and you're like, oh, I'm not liking what I see, and
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm seeing this. What's wrong with me? What do I need to change? And that's not the accurate depiction. And then it goes through, oh, this is coercive control. This is domestic abuse. I can't live this way anymore. I'm dying on the inside. I'm dying. Like I don't have a voice, I don't have freedom, and I don't know how to get out.
Right.
And it is the hardest, usually the right choice is the hardest one. And I talk
Mm.
about like, even like rewiring, remapping your brain, like many times we will choose what is common because it's familiar instead
Yeah.
of choosing a new path. It's harder to dredge through a new path. Like if you're walking through a field of grain that's up to your waist, it's easier to go on the pathway that's already trod. But what about pushing through something new? That's harder.
And
But the right
terrifying too in
the
its own
right
way.
decision is, yeah, you're like literally shaking. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, but the right choice is usually the harder one. It's the one we really have to like tiptoe an inch on. But like I was told, choose your hard. Choose
Right.
your, it's going to be hard if you stay, and the end result's probably not going to be so good. And it's going to be hard if you go. But what's the end result? Joy, freedom, life, vibrancy, a new beginning. We have
Yeah.
the rest of our life. It's going to be super hard in the beginning, but give it 3 months, give it 6 months. Give yourself a chance to rediscover yourself. And just like we talked about, broken pottery,
Yeah.
kintsugi, the Japanese art form that's absolutely beautiful. When someone goes through trauma, it is absolutely devastating. It is absolutely heartbreaking. And there is such a time that you need to invest in yourself and heal. But what comes out of that is unbelievably beautiful, because when you put yourself back together, when your life gets put back together, when you invest in yourself, and those broken pieces are woven with gold, with healing, and the light shines on that, you are going to glow with a way more majestic, amazing light than if you never went through a difficulty in your life. And we
Right.
don't want anyone to go through trauma, but those that are in it or that have lived through it, what we become after is so amazing. We are a glowing light to everyone else.
Mm.
We become more amazing, more beautiful. We are more resilient. And we also can teach our children how to be resilient. We can go
Yeah.
through things and become stronger. We can handle things. We're not going to like flake out, when a small thing happens. And
Yeah.
be a guiding light for our children, for our friends, for anyone who's been through a difficulty. We
For the
can
whole
be like,
world.
you
Yeah.
can make it. You can make it. We're here for you. You can do it. I believe in you. You are stronger than you know. And that message is important.
I really do hope anybody that's listening right now that's hearing your words really, really can tap into that and believe that because it is true. I know it's so hard to believe when you're going through it and you feel so isolated, but
And you feel worthless. You
you
feel
do.
like, what am I ever going to be? Like just forgotten, nothing.
Yeah.
But,
Because I
but,
mean, truly, the world does, or it can, I should say, often in these situations reflect back to you that you are crazy and what is wrong with you, right? Because you'll
or what
have
is your
friends.
worth? What is your
Yeah.
value? Yeah.
You'll have friends, you'll have family, you'll have police, you'll have whoever it is, even therapists, judges, lawyers, all of it. Everybody else can kind of reflect back to you this idea that calm down and what did you do to,
Be small.
yeah, what did you
Yeah.
do to start it, or
Yeah.
what is why don't you just leave if it's so bad?
Yeah. Or it takes two to tango, which is absolutely not correct and abuse at all.
I cannot stop telling people about that story of when we had a training at one of my employers where they, in the past, oh my gosh, said it takes two to tango, actually put it out there as though that were really the facts, as speaking as an expert on on the topic. I don't think I'm ever gonna get over it.
No, it's absolutely not factual, not correct, not in situations of abuse, because you have the two things that I learned that were very important is that in a situation of coercive control and abuse, there's power over, there's dominance, and one is afraid of the other. So it is not, it takes two to tango. Like someone is afraid of the other person, they're afraid of the consequences, and one has power over the other. So when there's that dominance, that oppression, it takes two to tango doesn't even fit in the criteria at all. That's not, this is not just a communication issue or a relationship issue. No. This is dominance, this is oppression, this is abuse, this is a stripping away of someone's voice, of their personhood. It was said, and I love this, so I borrowed this. It is the unfreedoming of a person.
Mm,
It is removing their freedom. It's what year is this? And it is the unfreedoming of a person.
I love that. I have not heard that before. I love that. I made up the word re-sovereigned because that's how I think of it. You are like taking back sole authority of your mind again. You are reclaiming after that like psychological demolition your sanity again, your emotional
For sure.
well-being. Yeah, it really is.
That's a
Your
huge process. It takes
yeah.
it takes time. But you know what's crazy too is we may not realize like how far we've come because we're like baby stepping it literally with fear, trepidation, tiny bits of bravery here and there. But then someone else who may have known us from before will be like, oh my God, you're so different. And I've
Hmm.
had people come up to me and be like, you are like vibrant. And I used to be really quiet and shy, but not when I was a kid. I
Yeah.
was like okay, my parents would say that I was the strong-willed child,
Haha.
like I was always like trying to get over the line, like putting my toe over the line. Oh, I can't cross this line. Watch me. I have a
Yeah.
story. I will tell this. I was 3 and my mom was really sick and she was pregnant with my brother. And I was sitting like in the living room and I found scissors and I was like, I'm gonna cut my bangs, like, and my mom was like, no, please don't. And I went, "Pooch," and cut
Yeah.
them off right here. Like I was the kid who's like, you told me no, I'm gonna do it anyways. And
Yeah.
that was like my natural temperament. But guess what happens when you live under oppression and abuse? You no longer are that vibrant testing person trying to test the limits. No, you become very tentative, very shy, very withdrawn, very quiet, very demure, because you've learned what happens when you peek your head out of the sand and yourself comes out. So you just
Yeah.
stay very small. But then when you're on your healing journey, you come back and your vibrancy comes back and people notice it and they're like, "Oh my God, you're a completely different person." And you're like, "I am." Like I feel like I've grown a little and healed a little, but like we don't even notice how much we have become or re-become, on our healing journey, which is like amazing, because we're in ourselves, but other people notice and are like, okay, I guess I am healing. I guess I am becoming.
Yes. And it really is like that, right? Because the sort of, I don't try to focus on it too hardcore because I'm not sure. I'm struggling with how much this matters, but just my own curiosity, my own, for my own self education purposes. And what I like to sometimes talk about and include is the why behind the abuse. Like, why does the abuser abuse? And I do not have the answer. I'm not an expert in this, but I've just in my own self study been trying to understand it. And I was just thinking as you were saying that, like you lose yourself, you become this other person, you step into a being that you were not before and that you will not be after. But it's like that is how it goes, right? Because for the abuser,
Oh,
from their perspective, why they're doing what they're doing, in part, I think, is because they don't view you as a person. You are quite
yeah.
literally like an object to them that they own, like a car or a computer or anything else that they own.
I
And
think we
so,
touched on that a little bit. And the central theme or the central point to people who abuse, who oppress, who subjugate is the sense of entitlement.
yeah,
Every single abuser is entitled. I deserve. I am greater. I can do whatever I want. There's no boundary I can't cross. I'm allowed. And this sense of entitlement is what is in every single situation. And I was reading that and I was like, oh my gosh. Like when you have people that are so self-entitled, they feel that they're superior, that they can do anything, they can dominate, and they also believe their own narrative, their own version
right.
of the truth that's not true at all, and they have convinced themselves of this. It's very twisted, it's very messed up. And it is like, I don't see how a person who can choose to be that way they're not a healthy person. And they thrive, many of them thrive off of their victim's pain. And that's heartbreaking. And I
Yeah,
remember I read this, I was watching this thing the other day and I was like reading the notes of it, and it was saying, like, instead of saying, why do women not leave? The question should be, why do the abusers hurt? What caused this situation to make a woman feel like she couldn't have the freedom to leave? Those are the accurate questions. Ask the right questions.
right.
You
Truly. Because if we can get down right to the bottom of why are they being abusive, in my mind, then can't we maybe get also down to the bottom of like, how do we actually stop the issue before it even starts? If we can understand that.
know.
Not to mention also just it's completely inappropriate and totally harmful to ask, why doesn't
And
she
I
just
think
leave? Like,
I agree. And I think it is very important for us because we've gone through it, like whether we have friends or we have daughters or, family members. Okay, well, if we don't want to step our toe into that pond of unhealthiness and subjugation and abuse, what do we need? What do women need to know? Okay, we need to know the green flags and the red flags. We need to love ourselves. We need to learn how to be secure. We need to learn how to be happy with ourselves, by ourselves, so that when we do get interested in a relationship, we do have our radar up. We are really trying to ascertain if someone is healthy versus unhealthy. Not like we're trying to pick someone apart, but we need to be aware of what is in front of us. We need
yeah,
to not just like keep our rose-colored glasses on. And if things are going great, great. And I read this and it said, like, you stay until it's no longer healthy. We have to be okay with stepping away when it's not healthy. We need to test in the beginning. We need to test. We need to have healthy boundaries. And one way to help prevent abuse is to teach and educate women, young adults, teenagers, what
yes,
healthy relationships look and feel like and what unhealthy relationships look and feel like. And to teach how to be self-confident, how to love ourselves, what is our value. If we build ourselves up to where we are really healthy individuals, there's going to be, definitely will be less likely to fall into abuse. And if we literally see no red flags and all of a sudden we see them, we need to be okay with stepping away. We need to love ourselves enough to make the right choice.
Yes, that has got to be step one is breaking the trauma bond, more or less, right? And then, okay, but so from there, if somebody gets to that place where they see what it is that you're talking about, that like this is what this is, and I am choosing me, I'm not choosing this anymore, and they want out. Do you have thoughts, suggestions, anything to share on like, okay, but what
Yeah.
if, right? All the what ifs. And it's not about them, I don't know, like feeling stuck from a place of like a trauma bond or minimizing it, or they see it for what it is, they want out, but there's like
Yeah.
true
Yes. So I
barriers.
love that question because I think we could go back a decade or go back a generation and also say, okay, let's also have now a starting point. And I think so much has to do with how we raise our children, how we invest in young people, whether they are our kids or are we are teachers or we are advocates or we get involved with young people. Like, let's say it could be a generation ago, but also paralleling it with now. Okay, so now, how do young women, what do we tell young women? Okay, it is important for them to get educated. Is it important? It is very important that they can take care of themselves. It's very important that they don't have to worry about how am I going to survive? How am I going to live? I told
Mm,
all five of my daughters, you need to get your education, whether you go to college or you go to trade school. You need to know that you don't have to depend on another person. You
sure.
can, you can get married and both of you can add and make a beautiful life together, but you are not dependent. And it sucks that you have to tell your kids this, but it's important because you don't know what could happen. It
Right.
could even be some drastic random accident. It doesn't
Exactly.
have to be abuse,
Sure.
but first of all, okay, young people, you need to get an education. You need to be self-sufficient. You need to have something that you can do to provide so that you don't have to worry about that whole pice of the puzzle.
Yeah, because
Also,
that's huge.
yes, and then also we need to teach young people and invest in them their what they are worth, their value, how they should be treated, how they should not be treated. And everything was just talked about being able to read green flags versus red flags. So if we immerse ourselves in literally like building ourselves up, so we are like a healthy house, a healthy foundation in a healthy house, so we know who we are, we know our value, we know our worth, we know what we're not going to put up with. We learn what the red flags, we learn what the green flags are. We learn to appreciate other people, and as long as they're healthy, they get to stay in our life.
Yeah.
We get education so we can take care of ourselves. So then, if you have this strong foundation and a strong house, which we are, which we want to create in young people, then if a situation does happen and maybe you never did see the red flags for some reason, okay, well, you know that you have an education you can fall back on, a strong support system. Really, it's important to have a strong support system that you value yourself,
Mm.
that you have great value and you have great worth, and you don't have to stay where you're not wanted or you're mistreated. I believe that could greatly reduce the
Yeah.
amount of abuse, and greatly instill within the next generation that there's a no tolerance for abuse, there's a no tolerance for neglect, for oppression, and that we have value, we have worth, and we can support ourselves. And whoever is in our life is adding to our life. They're not
Yeah.
stripping from our life. That's going to literally, that could change the world. It really
I
could.
love that. Yeah, it really could because it would be, you're right, a preventative
Yes.
in a sense that why do
Prevention is the
we,
greatest form. The best medicine is prevention,
yes,
you
why
know?
are we waiting to figure out
Yeah,
what to do like
yeah,
retroactively
yeah.
after
Like
they're
starting
knee
now.
deep?
And
Yeah.
then women that are in it right now, okay, let's be and let's encourage a strong support system. Come alongside them, help them, whether it's getting an education or finding ways to tap into resources. So maybe she didn't start with a strong foundation, but we can help build that now, and we can encourage and we can support, and coming alongside someone with love and joy and kindness and fun, and hey, let's go grab coffee, and we're here with you. That having a strong support system is probably one of the most important things for helping
You
women get out.
you mentioned it was I'm like it's blurring together the conversations that I've had now with so many people, but I swear it was just you that mentioned in this conversation that you had awareness, right, of a free resource that you knew of. That was you, wasn't it?
With the Call to Peace Ministries, yes. So
Yes.
I fell in love with this ministry, and it's on my website, beyondtheshadow.me. And I have, I think, like 10 or 11 free national resources. And
That's so
I fell in love
incredible.
with this ministry because they give free therapy, free advocacy, free counsel. They also have a lot of legal aid. They also come into organizations and churches and different places that deal with a lot of that, are in contact with a lot of families. So when you're in contact with a lot of families, you may come across situations of abuse. So
Yeah.
they come into the leadership and they train the leadership, and they teach the leadership, what are the red flags? What are the green flags? What does a relationship look like when it's an abuse? And it's not just, a relational conflict, but it is coercive control and it's abuse. So that when someone comes for help, they can ascertain this with high insight, and they can ask the right questions. They can get curious, and then they can not counsel a couple together when it's a situation of abuse. You
Love
can
that.
separately to the woman figure out what's going on, help her with resources. Does she need food? Does she need relocation? Does she need to contact the police? So that is a massive resource that I have on my website, because when women have resources, they can tap into free resources.
Yeah.
You need food, you need housing, you need just like therapy, someone to talk to figure out, is this abuse?
Yeah.
What am I allowed to say? What am I allowed to do? That is a huge starting point toward your journey on free to get free, or to even find out what my rights are. That's huge,
Truly.
because I remember being in a place where I was like, am I even allowed to make this choice? Am I okay? Am I allowed to go get my own bank account?
Mm.
That was me. Am I allowed to go out? I took $10. That's all I had to open my own bank account.
Mm.
I didn't know if I was allowed to do that. And I bet there are thousands of women that have similar fears and similar questions. Am I allowed to do this? Can I? And so having these resources to be like, can I do this? I need someone to talk to. I need a therapist. But I can't pay for it. So
Right.
having these free resources, or like, I need food. My kids need food. We need feminine products.
Right.
How can you find this? I don't have the money for this. Like, that is what is strapping and imprisoning to a lot of women and children, is not being able to get what we need to survive.
And often
So,
by design.
yeah, and when we can tap into these free resources, it gives you like a breath of fresh air, like, okay, I think I can do this. Okay, I can
Yeah.
get food. I can talk to a therapist. I can talk to someone who could be a good sounding board. I can have an advocate who can come alongside me and walk me through this entire journey, which could take 5 years.
Right.
Wow, that's huge. That is huge. And that's one of the reasons why I work as an advocate, to come alongside women, to listen, to be a friend, to help plug her into resources, to be like, you're not alone. You're not alone. You can make it. We're here. We'll lift your arms up and we'll help you, because women need to know, and they need to relearn that they have a voice. We don't want to tell people what to do. They need to learn how to make choices again, because that's been stripped away from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What is you think your favorite thing about the work that you do?
Okay. I think it's making friends. That's one
Really?
of the things. I want to be a friend to people and I want to
Mm.
see them come into their joy again. And I want to hear them laugh and feel like themselves again. And I think one of the best ways is to be their friend, and you end up making friends in all this line of work and your circle becomes bigger and I can let my joy like leak onto other people and we can just come alongside and listen. And whether it's like just listening or like, hey, you want to get together and watch a movie, or you want to just have a conversation and you can make it light. And then you can listen to the really deep stuff, but you can also walk away where they feel less burdened.
Yeah.
So in this, you do make friends. You can sort of be a little glimmer of light to them so they feel less burdened. And it sort of sprinkles this joy onto their pathway. So like, okay, I think I can walk this journey toward freedom. I feel a little bit lighter, and I can talk about my experiences. They can ask me really vulnerable questions and I don't mind. And it's like, hey, if she did it, I think I can do it, you know? So that's like
Yes.
one of the things I love a lot.
That is so beautiful. Okay, and that kind of maybe transitions us into my other question that I like to always end these on around self-care. I don't know if this will
Yeah.
tie in for that or not, but I know that I burned out really bad doing this work, and it is definitely something coming back into it that I have to prioritize. So that's why I'm curious to ask folks that I talk to, have you burned out? What does self-care look like for you? Basically, like, how do you do this work? Because man,
That
it
is
is
a very
hard.
important question. Like, you can't ignore that. And I think at our center, like, you put on your oxygen mask first. I'm a mom of five, so like, I know we can give and give and give and give until we legit have nothing. But
Yeah.
how can we pour from an empty cup? We can't. So our primary focus has to be like, we need to take care of ourselves, put our oxygen mask on. And I know when I was doing my advocacy training, they're like, they have an end time, like they end at like 5 o'clock. They need to have the evening to do stuff with their family, to decompress. Like if we go 1,000 miles an hour, oh my God, we're going to burn out so fast. We have to have like a plan, a schedule. We have to have days we say, you know what? We're just going to do a self-care day or go to the beach or read a book or do something that ministers to ourself, that fills up ourself so that we can pour from a full cup. So I think
Mm,
if we take time to invest in ourselves, do the things we love, aren't we going to aren't we going to be like a better asset? We're going to be able to give more, be more from the fullness of who we are, from our joy, from our personality, from everything we've learned. If we've poured into ourselves first, so we have this abundance to pour out to others. We have to learn when to press pause, take a break, go on vacation, take a bubble bath, read a great fun book, like something that we love to do, listen to music, walk outside. I love nature. So
yeah.
that is my go-to. And I try to get outside every day and I have my gardens and I have my flowers and it takes like a hot minute to water all of them in the summer. Like I'll be out there like an hour and a half sometimes when it's so hot. But
Oh,
you know what?
wow.
Walk with my bare feet
Oh,
and
that's
walk around
beautiful.
and being outside in nature, and that's a huge part of Shadow of Joy is that was her peaceful place.
Mm,
It's where it was her reset. When she was going through a lot, that was her reset. And we all usually we have to have something that is our reset. I have many things. Like I love reading, I love music, I love to sing. So I sing
wow.
even to the annoyance of my kids. I'm like, stop singing, Mom. I love it. Like I come alive. I'm an athlete. I love playing sports. So like when I do things that I love, it fills me up and I feel so vibrant. And then that gives me the capacity to pour a ton into whoever may cross my path. So I think
Mm,
we need to fill up our cup with things we love and figure out what we love. Because sometimes we forget. Sometimes we've forgotten. And I know there was a hot minute when I forgot what I loved and I had to remember, and we can't feel guilty about it.
yeah.
We it's important. Like That's like, okay, we have a car. If we never put gas in the car, how are we going to expect to go anywhere?
Right. That's a
Burn
great
it, you
analogy.
know? Like you need gas in your car to go where you need to go. We need to
Hello.
fill up ourselves and not feel guilty about it. Because the more
Yeah.
we invest in ourselves, the better quality we're going to have to invest in others.
I love too, as you were sharing that, is making me think about what you said about like our young people really taking on boundaries and kind of holding firm to that and having that be a part of their identity then that way. And isn't that really what self-care is too, right? Is having
Oh,
boundaries and like knowing
I'm
yourself well
learning
enough
that.
to know.
To
Right.
have better boundaries. Don't like no is a complete sentence. Oh, that's so hard for
Hello.
me. But I'm learning it a little at a time. Like, no, I'd love to. It's not going to work this week. Or I'd love to, but I mean, you could just say no, but I'm like nice. So like I want to give a little bit of perspective, like, oh, I wish I could, but I can't. Not this time or not today. And not like eat myself up about it. But like, hey, let's like revisit that, in a couple of weeks. We have to have boundaries. Otherwise, we're like scattered, running all over the place. And then we are less effective and we are less happy and we are stressed out because we have no boundaries. So
Yeah.
that's a huge part of it. That's
And
a,
then
a
we're
great
not
point.
modeling what it is that we know would be the best preventative,
Yes.
which is like, I never thought about it like that before. I just think that's like an interesting full circle way to think about it. Like, oh yeah, duh. It's actually really so important on so many levels for so
It
many
is.
reasons.
It also gives us like a breath of like, okay, I said no to something that was less important so I could say yes to something else. And I was reading about that. Like, we are going to be saying yes and no to a lot of things. So say yes to what's more important and say no to the things that aren't imminently important right now so that we can give 100% to what we need to say yes to. And that yes may be to self-care. Like, I need the day off, or I need the evening off, or I need to do this, or I really would love to spend time with this person because that's really important. So it's like, it is so, it's so healthy for us to learn that. And I'm in the midst of learning that right now because I did not have strong boundaries. I didn't.
It is a
And like,
skill,
hello,
right?
the target is empathy, giving too many chances, not strong boundaries. So we have to retrain ourselves. And we're going to have a better quality of life if we do that.
Heck yes. Yes. Well, I sincerely hope that you maintain all of this amazing self-care that you do and you continue to preach it. And I mean your Shadows of Joy, the book, right? Is that's the title?
Shadow of joy,
Or
yes.
Shadow of Joy, yeah. I mean, even that title and that book is so captures, I feel, that sentiment that you have about like, yes, I understand and I see all of this stuff, but what I'm really focused on is like seeing your joy, seeing you on the other side, getting you to that point that I know you're going to be okay. It's going to be okay and you're not
Yes.
alone.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's the whole point. Is like we can have this joy. Every woman can have this effervescence, this joy, this loving ourselves. We all were given some gifts, some talent, something quirky, fun, whatever, some passion that we love. And we need to love ourselves and we need to allow people in our life that love us and not allow people in our life that break us down, that don't appreciate us or that oppress. And it really is like building that healthy foundation for our life and then modeling that for the people in our life, whether it's friends or family or children. Because what is it? It's not what we hear. It's like it's we catch what we see. So
mm,
behavior is caught, it's not just taught. So if we model that,
yeah,
people around us will catch it faster than if we just like blah 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 say it all the time. So how
sure.
we live is how people are going to learn. So we are our first student, like I have to model this first, I have to learn this first. So
Yes.
I want every person to get this book, Shadow of Joy, A Woman's Journey from Coercive Control and Abuse into Courage, Freedom, and Rebuilding Identity. And it's on Amazon, and it will literally change your heart and your life. Like, I have people saying they couldn't put it down. They're reading till like 2 a.m.
Oh my
Even, okay, the
gosh.
best compliment I had, which was like the shortest one, but it was haha funny, was someone that said, I hate reading. I legit hate reading. And I loved your book. And I was like, that's probably the best review. Like, if someone doesn't even like reading and they loved my book, I will take that.
That's actually so funny.
But it's amazing though, because we need to speak value and worth into people. And there are so many women that live not knowing their value and their worth. It's been stripped away from them.
Yeah.
You read this book, and it is like mind blowing, and it is education as well as heart touching. And
Mm.
it's like we need to rebuild our identity. Every woman needs to know her value and her worth and step into her joy, step into her authentic, amazing, beautiful self, you
Mm,
know?
that's so beautiful.
And this will change every person's life who reads this book.
And I truly do. If you're out there listening to this, you hear this, you know people around you, please share this book because I do think that anybody could benefit from this, whether they have gone through it, think they might be going through it, know somebody, whatever, whoever you are, you're going to benefit because
Give this
you,
book to someone that you know. Like, I think this would mean a lot, or every like young person that you know. And they can pop onto my
yeah,
website too, beyondtheshadow.me. I have tons of resources. I have a blog, I have events, I have so many things. People can reach out to me, and I love people. So I love to connect with people.
this is so beautiful. Jennifer, will you send me a little blurb with all of your resources that you spoke about, your book, your website, the free therapy, everything that you talked about so people can find you and find all the resources below?
Absolutely. This has
Beautiful.
been such an amazing time. I loved connecting with you.
Oh, it's such an honor. I'm so grateful for your time and for the light that you bring into the world. We need so many more people that are doing the work that you're doing and doing it in the way that you're doing it with an open heart and with a focus on love and light. I think it's so beautiful. And there's not enough of you. So the world is so
You're
lucky
doing
to
as
have
well.
you.
Like each one of us, we each are a light. We each are shining this truth. We talked about this last week a little bit, how like if each of us shine our light, we'll come together. Like women will follow, people will follow. We are like Harriet Tubman, bringing people to freedom, one person at a time, one voice at a time.
Yeah.
And we all have incredible value, and we all have amazing purpose. And the world wouldn't be the same without one of us. We're all needed.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I hope this is not goodbye. I do hope that this is see you later. Um,
Sure, we have to chat again. I would
yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah. Anytime that you would like to come back on or bring people with you or
We can have a conversation. As soon as you finish reading it, we have to dig into this and have another conversation,
okay,
because that could
yes.
be like a 5 hour long conversation.
You know what? Yeah, that's actually such a brilliant idea. I would love to do that.
That would be awesome.
I'm gonna for sure be ordering your book right when we get off.
I know, I know. And then you have to like tell me everything you think about it, because I love feedback, and I want like a million people to order this book and let it change a million lives. And like
Mm.
that's one more life, five more lives, 1,000 more lives that can step out of abuse and trauma or never step into it to begin with.
Right, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And in the meantime, I just hope whatever you get to do with the rest of your evening, it's the evening now, that it's something restorative and something that you get to do for you.
As well. Well, thank you so much for having me. I absolutely loved having this time with you.
Jennifer, take care and we will be in touch.
Yes, we will.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.